What's up, everyone? Beast Mode back here with another video, and today I got the webcam. Let's go over some top 8 deck list predictions for RBET New York, which I will be in attendance for. I haven't been to a tournament in a long time, so I'm definitely excited to be out there and slam some Yu-Gi-Oh! So, of course, the same few decks have been topping, predominantly Frogs, Value, Blackwing. I think everybody understands that's going to be, the case, probably continuing moving forward. I don't think Edison solved by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty clear that there are better decks than others, and we've been saying that for some time. So let's just go quickly through the obvious choices. Obviously, Value Turbo is one of the best deck, if not the best deck of the format. It's going to make the top cut. How many? Who knows? I do know there will be quite a few great players in attendance, and I suspect that this will be a predominant figure in the top cut. Next deck, Black Wings. Very, very strong as well. We may see one or two. I know a few of Team Little Man players personally, and I know that there's some great Blackwing players, so I wouldn't be surprised if one of them top, along with others. Then we have this deck right here. I'm not sure what the name of this deck is. People call it Dream Frog. I haven't really been able to figure out the reason behind it, but this deck seems to be very popular right now. It's, I don't know, Frog Monarch, it looks like. That's what it is, seems to me, but Fishborg, maybe? Fishborg Frog is what I usually call it, but this deck has been seeing a lot of play. I'm not sure it's better or worse than the Hero Frog deck. People believe it's better. I honestly haven't seen enough action with this deck. I haven't actually played against this deck other than like once or twice, I feel like, and this deck is like really slow and grind. It's like way slower than Hero Frog. It's like, if you're going to sit down and play this deck at RBET New York, like, please make sure you go to the bathroom before you sit down, because this is bound to be a 45-minute game majority of the time. Of course, it could end quickly if they just draw the Caius and just keep bouncing and just, banishing stuff. But these games seem to be drawn out. It's a grind game. They have triple pot of avarice. They just keep gaining advantage. So make sure you empty your bladder before the round. Next, we got Hero Frog, still a very strong deck. More explosive than the other deck, I feel like. The other deck here, the Fishborg deck, can like steal games with the Armory Arm OTK, Colossal OTK, but it doesn't like always look to do that. Where like the Fish deck, the Fish combo deck, I don't know if anybody's really seen that lately, but that deck really was going for like Armory Arm, Colossal OTK. It could just steal games because it could play like double Armory Arm. This deck doesn't really try to do that from what I hear, but it can definitely steal a game like that, where this deck doesn't really have that option. I'm sure it could come up in certain situations, but probably rarely. But this deck is obviously just better with Absolute Zero. That's really the goal, is to slam Absolute Zero and make it a big attack and control the game that way. I still think that this is far more popular than the Fishborg deck, but I know recently we have ourselves a big frog problem right now. I hate to say it, it's a big problem right now. There's amphibians everywhere. They're in this recent multi-day tournament. The tournament's for like top 8 players get an invite to go to play in a tournament, to get an invite to play in a tournament, essentially. So it's still a pretty big event, and there are a lot of great players in it. But it's a multi-day tournament, so some players, don't play in it. But from what I know, in top 16, there were like half the top 16 were frog variants. So it's definitely a problem right now. And then like the other decks that are in top cut, and again, haven't seen the list yet, I don't think they're posted, are playing like main deck outs. So deck devies being played just to deal with these frog decks, and like side decks are really catering towards the frog matchup. And that's kind of like a problem, I think, because myself, I used to do the same thing. I'd side deck like 10 cards for the frog matchup because it's like brutal sometimes. But then the problem is your deck just becomes so ass, essentially, like you can't even play that. It doesn't work out like the way you think. Like, I still feel that maybe 3, 4, 5 cards tops for a matchup is probably what you want to be side decking in, even if it's a really bad matchup, because like then your deck can still do what it wants to do. Like, zombies have to be able to explode, Black Wings, you want to be able to whirlwind, do this and the other. And if you're side decking a bunch of cards just for a specific matchup, Massive Restrict and DD Crows and Pulling the Rugs and all this, that, and the other, and you have 10 cards in there, it doesn't even necessarily mean that you're going to have the card that you actually need at that time. So, it becomes one of those situations where you side deck in a bunch of cards, and then like you have a Pulling the Rug and they slam a Vanity Fiend, and then you can't do anything with it, or you have a Master Restrict up, and then like they out it and they substitute anyway, and then they dupe block you, and now you can't out the dupe block because you don't have a big enough monster to do it, because you probably side deck out a bunch of your tribute monsters. So it just becomes this really fine line that you have to kind of walk when you're trying to side deck. And I know people are like, these matchups are brutal with the frog deck, because it's pretty, this deck specifically, like this deck doesn't really want to play a fair game of Yu-Gi-Oh at all. This deck just wants to sit there and grind out the game and really just do whatever it wants to do. It doesn't really care what you're doing. So that's why people just really side deck heavily, because playing against frogs is just not typically fun in my opinion. And if you've ever watched a frog mirror match, if you talk about sitting there for a week, that is like painful. All right. Anyway, enough of the frogs. Next. I do think Amaryllis has a shot at topping here. I know this deck kind of fell off a bit, but I know Team Little Man is like out in that area, and I know, again, a lot of players on that team, and they're like the team who kind of really refined this deck. So I feel like got something. Sorry, got something in my eye. They're the team that really refined this deck. So I would imagine that there'll be some players there with this. We'll see. This is really just Titanial deck. Like this deck is just. This card, rather, is just so strong that it hits the board. You have to deal with it. Everybody's playing Triple D Prison right now. If you don't have the bottomless, it's hard to deal with. It's pretty... I know some people say it's not a favorable matchup, but I feel like... So my brother was playing Amaryllis Burn at Nationals. He played 4 frogs the first 4 rounds, and I think he beat all of them or went 3-1. So this deck seems to fare well against frogs, although other frog players typically tell you it doesn't. I'm not sure. I don't play the matchup. In my brain, which... I don't have a very big brain, but I feel like this would win frogs because of the fact that Titanium literally negates what Monarchs do. But the problem is absolute 0. So I feel this is probably better against the Fishborg frog deck or the Dream frog, but maybe less good against the hero version. So again, I don't really know, and personally, I don't really care if it has a good matchup or not. I just expect someone to see it, or we'll see it there. So here comes some spicy ones, and this here is a good friend of mine who will be in attendance, and they have really, or he has been really refining it with others, and I'm not sure if this is his list. I just found the first one I could, and I don't even think I changed the side deck, but the Salvo deck is cool. It's pretty explosive. I've seen some replays of the deck. Again, do I think that this is going to win the whole event? I don't, but I think it's fun, and it would be like one of my happy picks to see in top 8, because if it top 8, it's probably my good friend / family member, and it would be nice to see that happen. So I'm rooting for I'll say it, D2 and his Salvo deck, and we'll see if he can really get a good top with it. And then last but not least, I know now people are aware of all these new decks coming out with all these names, and we have elegant flame bills. I've seen and Jake XO, best player NA, he has some zombie build. He's calling it Hope Zombies, and we have Dream Frogs. But now I have been working in the lab for a while now. It's been a while, okay? And we have Vegetable Zombies. Here it is, baby. We have the main deck pumpkins, okay? We have the tomatoes, and we have the scrap iron scarecrows to protect the crops. I was thinking about naming it Crop Zombies, but I think Vegetable Zombies is a bit better. We, of course, side deck into triple deck devastation virus to go along with our hungry burger. Could be vegetarian, I'm not sure, but it goes in there and it's loaded with vegetables. So with that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.